Welcome to Finally Had 10 Minutes. I'm Jane Randall, and with us today is Chris LaPlaca, the legendary Chris LaPlaca. Chris, can you just tell our listeners who you are briefly?
Sure, but first I'd like to say that hair and makeup didn't arrive in time today, so we'll have to go as is. We're going to bring the quality of this podcast down a couple of levels, I think. All right, so listen, I retired from ESPN after 43 years at the company. I oversaw corporate communication for a bunch of those years, and I retired about December of 23. I got to know you, Jane, I spoke at a conference in Notre Dame for corporate communication, and as luck would have it, I got to sit next to you at dinner. And it was one of the best things that ever happened to me, frankly, because the things you've done for me and the friendship that we have and the doors you've opened have been really wonderful. So I'm very grateful to you and happy to be here today.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, now what do I say?
It's the truth.
Oh. All right, we're going to dive in because otherwise we'll just chat, which is what we like to do. You have a deep comms background. You retired in 23, but I know you're busier than you've been, frankly, because you're all over the place, hot demand. What is your gut reaction to AI-generated messaging?
I don't like it. I was asked by a professor at my alma mater, St. Bonaventure, who's teaching a journalism course, what I thought about AI. And I said, look, you have to use it for research and what have you, but there's nothing original on it. None of it. You know, what makes you special as a communicator is the perspective you bring and the ideas that you bring. So I think use it as and a lot of people I think have said this, use it as a baseline to get yourself started, but you got to take it from there.
Right. No, that's a lot of people have said that. I wonder if it's going to change. I mean, I wonder how it's going to change. You know, we're looking at AI agents for different things, and you know, I don't know. It's all a little, you know, to say it's all like driverless cars. You know, I had a hard time when the elevators, you know, the green elevators, you have to push the button and then figure out which elevator it is, and you're like running through. Like
Yeah, that's true.
with no buttons for me was like, wait, I have no control. It's a control.
Hey, I was in Arizona. I spoke to the Mayo Clinic there, believe it or not, and unbelievable place. But we went to dinner the night after my presentation. Down the street was a driverless car. I knew of them. I had never seen one before. It was a little freaky.
Yeah, no, I think it is freaky. I think, you know, communicators are control freaks, so I think the idea of having no control over stuff is sort of terrifying. You have been a big supporter of Comps Collective and the idea of fractional. So I want to get your sense. When do you think is the right time for a company to consider bringing somebody in fractionally?
You could argue any time's the right time, but I would tell you, I think especially it's important in a moment of great change, or you have to make a pretty big pivot. Almost every company in any industry is doing that today. And someone who comes in at clear eyes, clear mind, no previous kind of relationships or camps that you may have been in, who can see things objectively and act quickly. I think that's a perfect time to bring in someone on a fractional basis.
Why do you think our industry has a little bit of a harder time, and it may be the control thing that I just mentioned, sort of adopting fractional? So fractional is, you know, it's a lot in finance and legal, et cetera. Why do you think it took so long to get to our industry?
I think the function itself was misunderstood or not really appreciated, candidly. I remember a time back in this is a long time ago. I'm old. I met someone at a conference, and they said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm in communications for ESPN." And they said, "Oh, you're the guy who orders the phone lines and the trucks at the stadium?" No, I'm no. You know, so there was a lot of misunderstanding about the role, and now I think most smart companies understand that you need a really strong communications person to navigate your brand through the chaos that exists. Sometimes it feels like half the country doesn't agree today's Monday. Right, and that's the environment that companies navigate their brands in, and you need a good, strong corporate communications person to do that effectively, in my opinion.
I mean, you certainly have had a lot when you've told me stories about where you've been, and how do you prepare? When you can prepare, how do you prepare?
Well, the time to prepare is before they happen. To be ready for whatever might be coming. Like I got good at, and my team got really good at, we did this, seeing around corners and understanding what might be. If this, then what? And what would we do and whatnot? But when the moment hits, I always say this. There's right and they're fast, and they're both in the front seat of the car. But right needs to always drive.
Right.
You go too fast, you make it worse.
Hmm. No, that's right. I always say people, a lot of times crises are the response to what happened as much as what happened.
The other thing I would tell you, Jane, you're right about that, is you have to understand what your North Star is for your brand or your organization, and be true to that. I helped an organization very recently deal with something I had never dealt with before, and they weren't sure which way to go. And I said, listen, follow your values. Whatever the values are of your brand, just follow that. And you're not 50% of the people are not going to agree with what you decide to say or do anyway. So you might as well be true to who you are. You can never go wrong when you do that.
Right. No, you're 100% correct. Who is the best communicator you've ever seen in action?
Bob Iger at Disney. He's authoritative. He's smooth. He actually answers the question. He gives you other things to think about. He's very confident. He's a confident communicator because he did the work. I would say Bob, and I was lucky to get a chance to work with him a few times on different things, and just amazing.
That's awesome. I love that. What is the most ridiculous thing you have ever had to explain as a communicator?
Well, we never actually. Well, I didn't have to do it. One day, a long time ago, blogs were just becoming a thing, and a guy on my team came in and asked me. He said, "Listen, I just got asked this question. Do I have to answer it?" I said, "What's the question?" He had gotten a call from this burgeoning blog, kind of young and kind of out there, and the question was this: did, I forget which commentator, so and so pass gas on the set just a few minutes ago? And this guy came in and asked me. He said, "Do I have to even look at this? Do I even have to ask these questions?" I said, "No, you don't have. That's ridiculous, like that kind of a question." But somebody was trying to be different, and that's the road they went down. Crazy, just
Crazy,
dumb.
but now you see those clips all the time, right? Anybody makes, chair moves and everyone's like, "Oh no, someone, yeah, no."
Yeah. The inspection now is just wild. About 10 years ago, I sat at a lunch with a bunch of people like you and me who did do this kind of work, and I asked the question, would you abolish social media today if you could? And every one of them said yes. Every one. The upside was not worth the downside. That was 10 years ago. It's 10 times worse now, in my opinion. I think it's the biggest thing that's happened in our industry in a long, long time, and I don't know what else. And society, forget about society. I mean, everyone has a voice now, and we all read only what we agree with and whatnot. It's a little scary.
No, it is a little scary. What's the boldest move you've ever made in your career?
Again, many years ago, I was the captain of the crisis team at ESPN. I was on speed dial all the time. I was good with it. My team and I, we all did a lot of things together, but I was at the tip of the spear. And I wasn't always in all the meetings that I thought I should be in. And I was mad about it. One day, when my daughter was in third grade, she won a statewide writing contest. Anyway, there was a big event at UConn, and I wanted to be present in that moment. And I told my bosses and everybody, look, I'm checking out for 3 hours. I want to be present with my daughter. This is a pretty big deal. And of course, I got a phone call driving up to UConn. Something had happened. I needed to fix it. I did. My team and I did. But I was hot. And so the next day I went and said, "Hey, guys, I'm on speed dial 24/7. Whenever you need me, I am there. Yesterday, I just wanted 3 hours. I couldn't get them. I'm done being. I want to be in all the meetings I need to be in." And I was hot. And I didn't get mad often.
No, I'm sure.
But it worked. And after that, it was, it took off.
That's me. That's a really good lesson, honestly. Ask for.
Well, it took a family thing to do it. We struggle, right? The balance work and family when you're in these roles.
Yeah, boundaries for people are tough. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Okay, you've made it through. You get to the last question. If you had an extra 10 minutes in your day, what would you do?
I would actually try to see if I could get each of my 3 daughters to spend 10 minutes, and we would have a conversation about where they are in their life and where they wanted to go, and really get as deep as you can in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But, they're busy, I'm busy. Sometimes you have to find those times. I'm trying to be more intentional in retirement, but that's what I would do. You've done it. You've done it pretty well.
I've been at my kid's birthday party taking phone calls. I've been in the playground taking phone calls. Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. But then we still do it because we love it. Chris, Thank you so much for spending 10 minutes. It's probably longer than 10 minutes. We're going to have to edit, which is a bummer. But really happy to have you. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jane. You're the best, man. Whatever you need me to do, I'm there for you. That's how strongly I feel about you and the role you played in my life, truly.
Same. All right, my friend. Thank you.
Take care. Good luck.